let's get everything on the road here. We see a few more people that are logging in, and we'll just continue to let people log in as they can. If you've got some questions, we hope that you'll wait until a little bit later on in the hour. Maybe jot those down if you can. Stephanie, you're not allowed to jot anything down at the moment since you're in the car. Please hold off on that. But
Okay.
if you do have questions, we'll have Q&A a little bit later on in the hour. But thank you very much for joining us for the branding part 1 of 2 webinar. We'll have part 2 next Thursday. The whole history behind this is we put together a member services survey several months ago, and we got a lot of responses from our chamber partners on some of the things that were important to them that we might be able to provide as far as training and education are concerned. They included things like business planning and change management, social media. We've already covered social media, did a couple of weeks ago. One of the big subjects that came up, actually 34%, was branding. So we figured we'd go ahead and do a branding seminar. And then as we started getting a little bit more into the conversation, we discovered there was probably enough content there for 2 different webinars that we could get going. So we wanted to start off with basically the basics, branding basics. So welcome everyone. I'm Joey Armstrong with the Greater Beaumont Chamber of Commerce. I'm the Director of New Member Development, and your presenter today is going to be Jill Ellis Worthington with Right On Communication Services, and she's coming to us long distance. She spends half the year in Canada, half the year here in Texas, down in Beaumont, and so we appreciate her time. So you know, the basic principle is, in order to have successful branding, you need to have a very powerful and consistent message and look to your business and in everything that you do. And then how do you get it out there? So today we're going to be talking about the branding basics, what you need to consider in building your brand, what you need to consider as far as your brand is concerned, what your unique selling position is, what your go-to-market message is, and then that's got to be consistent across the board. And then all the different ways that you can use that to get in front of people's eyeballs and ear holes. And of course, one of the most powerful form of marketing your brand is word of mouth. There's nothing more powerful than a good suggestion from a trusted friend or family member. So Jill is going to get us kicked off. We're going to go for about 45 minutes or so, and then we have Q&As a little bit later on. So with that, you should have received your questionnaire. I know a lot of you have already shown that questionnaire to the camera, so glad that you have it there. If you haven't gotten it completed, that's fine. We'll work through a lot of this as we go through there, but you'll have some good takeaways. So Jill would like to introduce you to the entire group, and group, welcome Jill.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and get this party started. All right, so we are going to talk about branding basics, and because I come to some things mostly from a word position, as my company name may imply, we're going to talk a lot about your elevator pitch, but we're going to talk about all aspects of branding, the basic parts of branding. So that's why we're calling this branding basics. We know that we are our business. It starts with your look and your logo. So do you have a logo? And is it consistently used? Do you have colors? Can everybody just mute their mic so that that background noise isn't so distracting? That would be great. Thank you. If you do have a question or something, just write it down. Or, you know, if it's something that really pertains and you really need to ask it at the moment, you can turn on your mic. I don't mind being interrupted. I usually am able to come back to the subject, not always. But yeah, so we can have questions, but you know, as Joey said, if we can hold those mostly to the end, that would be great. We're going to do some interactivity exercises towards the end too. So we will need to put the mics back on for that. So what I was saying was that your logo, consistent colors. Are you using them in all the right places? Are you using them in your logo, but also in, you know, if you have your car, the wrap on your car, not toilet paper, a real wrap on your car. And do you have t-shirts? Do you have other business paraphernalia that you use your logo and your colors consistently? And are they the same shades? I have purple as my business color, but it's not always the same shade, but it is always purple. It's not only about how you look, but it's how people look at you, how you act, what's your community profile. That's not something we're going to get into so much, but it does affect your mindset, which is a lot of what we're going to talk about today, is the mindset behind branding. Your mindset, it's not, a lot of people say when they're talking to a business coach or a business consultant, people talk about mindset, whether you're positive or negative or a good user of time or those kinds of mindsets. That's not really what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is how you think about your business. And for people who've been in a business a long time, this is sometimes more difficult for them because they're kind of stuck into how they think that they should think about their business. And what we're going to talk about today is the elevator pitch and how that can kind of help you pivot and tweak how you think about your business. So mindset's some of what we're going to cover today. So this is my logo, as you see. Purple is my main color. I chose that because it's the color of passion. It's the color of the highest chakra. It's the color of the mind and passion or persuasion. So that's why I chose it. I also happen to like the color, so it's not really tough for me to wear it a lot when I'm out in business circumstances. As you can see, I use it a lot. So I think if you're at that point where you're going to brand or rebrand, picking a color that you actually like and is representative of your industry. For instance, a lot of companies that work in the eco fields have sustainable products. They choose green or blue because those are colors that are generally associated with that. Often people who are in the helping professions use red, like Red Cross and that sort of thing, because that's associated with that. So being careful of what you choose. And with your logo, having your logo on a t-shirt or a uniform shirt and wearing that out when you're networking, and of course when you're doing business, is appropriate to your field. But when it's not appropriate, for instance, I would never wear a t-shirt for my kind of work because I'm usually, you know, wearing more business attire, but I often wear something that's purple. So I have a friend here who she makes boxes where they have craft supplies in it, and then people get those delivered to like their grandchildren every month or something so the kids can make crafts sort of as a distance gift. Her main color is turquoise. So whenever she's out networking or doing business of any kind, especially when she's in the media, she's always wearing something that's very bright turquoise. So there are ways that you can make your logo stand out to establish your brand. So you are your business. We know that, especially because we're mostly all in small businesses. So our businesses very much reflect who we are, and we reflect who our business is. But if you're not able to communicate what you do and what you offer in a way that's really connects with your clients and customers, then you're not going to have as great of your bottom line will suffer, basically. If you cannot convey what you do, what problem you solve, how you work with people in a way that's really captures their attention and their imagination, you won't be as successful as you could be. And this is I've given this type of seminar in several different circumstances, but I would say that this is a part that I've added. It's even more important now with what's going on in the business world than it ever has been, to be able to really sum up what you do in a very specific way for very specific audiences, because even when the world goes back to normal, whatever the new normal looks like, and we are able to more gather in places, we will still we will still be doing business online more than ever. We still may be doing online networking and online meetups. And online, you have greater reach, like you can reach people further away than people who can gather in a room with you, but you also have limited reach within that group that you're talking to at the time, because this little screen that you're looking at isn't the same space as talking to someone in a room. So you need to be able to reflect what you do in a very succinct and short and specific way. Most important, in a way that captures the imagination of the people that you want to do business with. Also, in the new reality, people are going to remain living online more than they have in the past, because a lot of people are going to be very leery of being in public as much as they used to be. So if your business is in a position to pivot and do more business online, you need to be able to convey that to the people you want to buy from you. So thinking about your business, capturing your unique sales proposition, and summing that up in a way that's really relatable to the people you want to sell to is now more important than it ever has been. But why would you listen to me about this, I ask. I'm a word nerd. I'm very proud to say that I'm a word nerd. I fell in love with words and reading and being read to as a child. I remember the words just washing over me when I was a young child as my mother read to me, and being really, really enamored of the idea that you could capture people's imagination so that you could take them to other places and make them feel in different ways and motivate them to do different things through the power of words. That's one of the reasons when I was at A&M, I decided to take a BA in English and learn the history and use of words from the ground up. When I graduated from A&M, though, I moved to Canada and I got my very first job in publishing, because it was the 80s and I didn't know that you weren't supposed to graduate and then immediately apply for a job at a national magazine. So I did, and I got it. And it was just like a Molly Ringwald movie where the heroine came out on top, even though the odds were against her. So I started working in a national magazine, and I have worked in publishing for over 30 years in both Canada and the US. I've written for Texas Highways and Canadian Gardening and AmeriKids magazine and newspapers all across the country. So I've worked with words for a really long time. I started right on communications 10 years ago in 2010, and haven't looked back since. Since I started right on, I translated my abilities with words and writing from producing them for publications to producing them for my clients and working with my clients so they could become better communicators. But when branding really recaptured my attention as being something that was really so tangible and so pervasive was a couple of years ago. My husband and I were driving from Texas to Florida and back to Canada. We were on that last leg going from Florida to Canada. And my husband was opining with, I think, an agenda that he wanted to get fried chicken, that he wondered if Kentucky Fried Chicken tasted different in Kentucky than it did in other places. And I said, I didn't think so. But we got off the highway a little bit to check it out and ended up in Corbin, Kentucky, which is the home of the Colonel Sanders Museum where he started KFC, because my husband really likes fried chicken. So we took a little side trip to do this experiment, and it became really apparent to me when we were going through this museum that the Colonel was one of the really early masters of branding. So much so that white suit now, even in situations where there's nothing to do with chicken, the white suit makes people think about chicken, makes people think about his chicken. If you see the white suit and you hear those words, secret recipe, you think of nothing but Kentucky Fried Chicken. In fact, we were watching a popular television show called Prodigal Son a couple of weeks ago, and the main character came out wearing a white suit because he was leaving for a resort vacation, and people started calling him, and they were at a crime scene, it had nothing to do with chicken, and they started calling him the Colonel. And it really brought it back to me how important branding is, because the world is just full of so much information. If you have a unique sales proposition, you have a great product, you are a consummate professional. If you can't rise above this blah, 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 blah noise and for years it's been growing and growing and growing with more everything online, more publications and the whole thing. But right now, really at the pinnacle of this situation, because everybody's living online now. And so if you can't rise to that and get your message out over all of the others and cut through the blah, blah, blah with really a succinct elevator pitch, a succinct value proposition, succinct branding, your business will not prosper in the way that you want it to. So let's be like the Colonel and craft our perfect pitch. Let's be the secret recipe of whatever field that we're in, whatever product or service we offer. Where I start with all of my clients is a strategic communications plan. And we're not going to do this today, but this is a great exercise and I urge you all to do it. I can send you the form that I use. No problem. I'd be happy to do that. And this is a whole different workshop, how to go through this. But the important parts of this are, well, they're all the parts are important, because with the strategic communications plan, if you don't have business goals or communication goals that reflect your business goals, if you don't know who your target audiences are, if you don't know what your issues and counters are, meaning the problems that you need to overcome with the solutions, you can't get to a general action plan so you know where to put your words, who needs to hear them, when they need to hear them, what language you're going to speak to them. If you don't know your budget and your measurables, you're just shooting in the dark. You're just throwing arrows, you're playing darts with a blindfold on and just shooting things out into space. So you need to really have a good solid plan before you can move forward. For today's talk, though, the part of that plan that we're going to mostly talk about is your target market, because we need to know what language these people speak, how they need to be talked to, where they need to read your words, what their gender is, age, at socioeconomic status, and interests. So for instance, your target market, the people who mostly buy your product or service, are, say, female, 40 to 60, in a higher socioeconomic status. They make good money, and they're interested in golf. They mostly play golf or outdoor sports. Say that's your target demographic. You are going to use different words. And when I say language, I don't mean like Spanish, English. I mean a different level of communication, different kinds of words, more sophisticated words to convey your message to them. And unless you're in differentiating your market, if your market is males 20 to 30 who only make $40,000 a year and are interested in online gaming, you're going to use different words, different kinds of messages in different places. So not the same magazine, not the same newspapers, not the same social media, not the same billboards. Wherever you're conveying it, it's going to be in different places than the first target demographic. So where this makes an important plays an important role is choosing your niche market. For instance, there are tons of real estate agents. Like real estate agents, like just so many of them, right? I have an acquaintance who her target demographic, so she can differentiate herself, because we all know that if you try to sell to everybody, you sell to nobody. So if you're a real estate agent and you say, well, anybody could buy my house, everybody needs houses, I sell everybody houses. Well, that's great, but so does everybody else. So unless you're really going to niche market yourself, you won't know where to put your marketing messages. So what she's done is she's sort of taken that first market that I was speaking of, women over 40. She's narrowed it even further, women over 40 who are recently divorced but want to buy their own homes. So they don't want to live in apartments. They don't want fixer-uppers, because they're women who make over $100,000. That's what she's chosen as her target market, and who have interest in traveling and outdoor sports. So she knows everything there is to know about a regional area. Her target market is condos, because she wants to sell women who they want to travel, so they don't want to do any maintenance on their homes. They have the kind of money that they need to buy. So she's made that hers. So instead of just scattergunning her real estate marketing out to everybody in the world, she targets those demographics through her social media, luxury magazine that she advertises in. She uses Instagram because it's mostly a female read. She uses Facebook because it's mostly older people. So if she wanted to sell to the second market, younger men 20 to 30 who want to do online gaming, they also might want to buy condos, because they're not maybe outdoorsy types, but they'd be lower end condos in different areas of her region. So she would target her marketing and her language that she uses in her marketing differently, because they speak a different language. They have different educational levels that make them understand and relate to different words differently. So let's get to that a little bit more detailed. One of the other things that we're going to be considering when we work on our elevator pitch is your list of the 3 things. When you probably thought of a long list of the things that are important for your clients to know about you, that why people would buy from you. But you have just less than 10 seconds to sell someone, and probably even less than that, because I think since the crisis happened, people's attention spans have gotten even shorter, because everybody's kind of stressed and thinking about, they've got kids at home, they've got, that they've never had to deal with. They are dealing with a lot of things they've never had to deal with before. So I think our sales portal, our sales window is even shorter now. So you need to cull that down to the 3 top things that people need to know about you and about your product or service to make a buying decision. So those are 3 things we're going to kind of keep over here. So we have over here in this silo of thinking, we have our demographic, age, gender, socioeconomic, that over here. The reasons people would buy from you. And now the 3rd element that we need to know is what makes you different. What is your backstory? The reason we need to know what your backstory is because that's going to be really important to not just your elevator pitch, but just the entire way you think about your business, how you differentiate yourself. And that's really important because it makes you relatable. And how can you relate something from your own past to what you're doing today? So for instance, if you were my acquaintance who is the real estate agent who wants to sell to women who are recently divorced, that's something that she went through herself. And she felt a little lost without owning her own home. She didn't want to rent. She wanted to feel those roots that one feels with home ownership. So she translated that experience into picking her niche market because she felt that passionate about that's who she wanted to serve, and figured out how she could best do that and how she could best market to those people. Your because she'd been through that situation, it helped her build the credibility. It bridges that gap. Everything that we're talking about with your elevator pitch and your branding is to help you bridge the gap between you and the people who want to buy from you. Not that you want to sell to, but people who want and need to buy from you. And we're trying to bridge that gap so that they see you as the perfect answer to whatever need they have. So building credibility is an important part of bridging that gap. One of the most important elements that we need to think about is, what problem do you solve for your target market? This is sometimes a stumper for people, because they'll say, well, I'm a plumber, so I solve the problem of a clogged toilet. Or I'm a massage therapist, so I solve the problem of someone, needing massage because they're tense or in pain. Those are both true statements, but they're not what you really do for those person. Okay, so the person who's a plumber, they come into your home. You establish trust with them. You trust them enough to come into your home. And when they solve that problem for you, when they unclog their toilet, they are giving you peace of mind. That is the real problem they are solving for you, for their client, is giving them peace of mind. When you're a massage therapist and you give someone a massage and you help them feel less pain or less stress, that's important. And what you're doing is you're giving them ability. The problem you're solving for them is the ability to get on with the rest of their life. So yes, you're helping them in the immediate moment, and that's a problem to solve for them. But what you're actually doing is giving them the ability to go back to work, to go back to their sport, to be the best for their kids. So what is the actual thing that you're providing for people? It's usually not exactly what you do. It's the result of what you do. And that's an important thing to think about when you're writing your pitch, when you're thinking about your marketing, when you're thinking about your branding in a bigger way. So branding is actually a much larger subject than really people, I think, give it a lot of credit for, because for some folks it begins and ends with that logo. That's not it. It can start with a logo, but it really shouldn't even start with a logo. It should start with an analysis of how you really solve problems for people, what you can do to them, for them, and what your personal why is, the part up here where your backstory is, why you do what you do, and what the result people get from that is. And that's what informs your logo, how it looks, because how it looks is really inherent in the sales that you want to make, the people you want to serve. Where we're going to start with this is we're going to write a powerful statement. We're going to work on your elevator pitch, because that's going to be a good core way to think about all of these sort of bigger subjects. We're going to kind of cull down the big subjects that we've been talking about into just an elevator pitch, so you can see how you kernel it down. So it's big, it's small, and it's big again, because it will inform a lot of your other marketing ideas and decisions. So to write a powerful statement, what we don't want to do is we don't want to use language that denigrates you, that makes you sound not the professional, not the powerful person that you are, not the person that your potential clients and customers are looking to for help. So words like basically and just and help aren't powerful words. They're not action words. I'm sure we've all seen folks get up at an elevator at a networking event, or if we run into them at the grocery store and we ask them what they do, they'll use words like, well, I basically help people find a house, and I basically help them buy their house because I'm a real estate agent. That doesn't sound professional, it doesn't sound powerful, and it doesn't sound like the person that I'm going to choose to make one of the biggest buying decisions I will ever make in my life. You also want to always use I and we statements, because again, it puts the emphasis where it needs to be, because this is you and your business. Always be positive, always be powerful, always be proactive. So one of the things we've talked about quite a bit is the need to rise above the noise. So you need to give people a reason to listen to you. You need to capture their attention and write off so that they're ready to hear your message. I like to do that with humor. And the other thing, we're now really going to start working on your elevator pitches, and I just want to bring you back to the fact that we need to use the language of your target market. So if you have a target market that is not doesn't perhaps have hasn't been to university or college, or has, or is male, female, they have a low, you know, if you're the Walmart of whatever your service or product is, and you want to sell to everyone, if you have a target price that is accessible to everyone, that's an important consideration. But if you, like my acquaintance who sells real estate, she doesn't target first-time buyers. She targets people who have probably owned houses and have a little bit more money. So whatever that target market is, whatever their situation is, that's where you have to meet them with the language you're going to use. Again, building the bridge. We're going to talk about my winning formula for writing your elevator pitch, but I'm just I'm going to bring this down so I can see everybody. Does anybody have any questions to this point? I've been that thorough? That's good. All right, then we will continue. Okay. Don't want that.
Hey, Jill, it's Marsha.
Yeah.
I would like to say that you and I have been over this a lot, and I never could really gel it down. And just listening to you talk and the examples that you've given really struck my mind, talking about colors. So like just with my business, we always use the color green. And you hear a lot about green all the time for, you know, let's get back to the green earth, back to basics. So you really solved a lot of my inability to think deeper just with your examples.
Well, thank you. And really for a company like Basic Foods, green is one of those perfect color choices, because organic, sustainable, eco-friendly, wellness, health, those are all colors. Those are all words that we associate with colors like green. So it's the vibrancy of life, the vibrancy of green.
Yeah, so that's what triggered my thinking. And so anyway, those examples were really good.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Okay, so many folks, I think, make the idea of having an elevator pitch a little bit more complicated than it needs to be. So almost anything can be broken down into a formula, and that's really important because it makes it less overwhelming for you to think about how you're going to write it, how you're going to say it. And also, when you can, it will help people, you'll remember it better, but will help people remember you better. So I always recommend with my clients that we start with a surprising statement, fact, or funny anecdote. Then you're going to say your name and your company, what problem you solve, and that's where we really have to think about what problem you solve, not what you do, but what the result is. And again, you leave them with your company and your name so that, again, they'll remember you. So I'll just use mine as an example and to illustrate this. The one I usually offer in a networking meeting when I'm when they do introductions and stuff, I'll say, because you love to sit behind your computer and really work on your web copy, think long and deeply about your marketing copy, think about how you're going to write your elevator pitch, because you love that and you love to spend hours behind your computer thinking about all those things and writing all those words. I'm going to head off and retire. But if you don't love that, if that isn't your thing, then I hope that you'll connect with me. My name is Jill Ellis Worthington. My company is Right On Communications. We use words to bring business to your business. So when you're ready to stop sitting behind your computer and sweating about the words that you're going to put on the paper, words that you're going to put on your website, words that you're going to say the next time you have to give your elevator pitch, please call me. My name is Jill Ellis Worthington. My company is Right On Communications, and I'd be happy to work with you so we can use words to bring business with your business, to your business.
That's awesome. Thank you very much, Jill. Wow, good stuff. I hope everybody, you're more than welcome to unmute your lines if you'd like to. I know that Jill is willing to take any questions that you've got, and if we could get the full panel back on your screen, let's do that. All right, good deal. All right, does anybody have any questions for Jill?
So I'm happy to answer questions, but what I would really like to do is have a brave volunteer put up their virtual hand, and we'll work on a pitch for you. Not you, Bonnie.
Oh, come on.
She's always game. Go for it. Let's work through this. Everybody can join in. Go ahead, Bonnie.
Okay, Bonnie.
Well, what's my surprising statement or anecdote? Well, how would I come up with that?
Well, I think in your case, you know, okay, so when I say a surprising factor or that sort of thing, is also statistics are usually a really good way to start. One of the ones I use when I want to talk to people about their public speaking is how 95% of the people rather be the guy in the coffin than the guy speaking. So how many people, so if you could use some kind of surprising statistics. So I think there's some great stats about social media and the penetration it has. So if you could start with, you know, in the last few weeks, the Facebook traffic, daily Facebook traffic has gone from 95 million people to 477 million people or whatever, you know. So if you're not on Facebook, if you don't have, and more people are scrolling faster than faster, and because I like your slow your scroll catchphrase, but some kind of surprising fact about the penetration of social media generally, I think would be a good surprising statement for you. I mean, it needs to be real. Like, it can't be just, you know, something you've made up. But it's easy to find that information.
One of the things that I tell people, but I don't start with it, so maybe I should, is that videos are shared 1,200% more than static images, are viewed and shared. Is that enough, or should I go further?
I think, you know, and that's the other thing that I wanted to talk about, is that you can, in different circumstances for different groups, or just to keep it fresh, or if you're trying to bring attention to different parts of your services, you can change that. So if you're saying videos on Facebook are shared, whatever statistic you read, that's interesting for that. But how about LinkedIn? Like, people want to see videos on LinkedIn. So for that, you know, you might want to, or you can combine those, but you don't want to offer everything. You need to keep it short, right? So I think that you could find some stats off of different kinds of applications where your videos could, different platforms. Also, websites. People need to use them on websites, so you could get something about that as well.
Okay. So that would be my first part, and then name and company, what problem we solve.
Mhm.
We help businesses get exposure, I guess, the online exposure that they need with,
Well,
with
but what's the end result of that? What how do they benefit from what you do for them?
well, they don't have to spend the time putting together a video. It's very time consuming.
Exactly.
So it saves time.
They don't have the time or expertise. But see, that's not a bad thing that you could reference, because most business owners don't have the time or expertise to do that. But really, the end result that they want is more business.
Yes.
So I would use a statistic or a fact or a quote or something from some business that you've worked with about the exponential growth that they've experienced because of working with you.
Okay.
Or the result that they've gotten. So from a recent client, he after his video on such and such platform viewed, he experienced, he got 10 calls as a result of that, or he sold 3 more widgets because of that, or in some way quantify it, but it's the result. It's not the thing that you do.
Okay. Gotcha.
Good.
Thank you.
We take the time you don't have.
Give you back.
This is Tressa Clark with On Yacht House in Beaumont.
Hello.
And I'm sorry I'm not on video, but I got a kid at school that we're homeschooling also. But Jill, I have a question. Just like I said, I'm the executive director of On Yacht House here in Beaumont. On Yacht House does not say what we do. On Yacht comes from the father of the Persian lady who founded this way back in 1994.
Okay.
Our logo is a nest. Not real sure. I've been with On Yacht House for about 6 years. Not real sure where that came from, and I'm going to research that. And then we kind of use a lighter color blue, a turquoise color. I want to research why we use that. But what On Yacht House does is that we provide accommodations to outpatients or families who do not live in Beaumont, but outside the area, but come because they have a patient in the hospital or nursing home or hospice care or something like that. But we do not have a slogan. We have a mission statement that says what we do. But I have found with being with On Yacht House that it's a very hard sell to educate people what we do. But we're critical to the community, but yet I have found that there are so many people that don't know who we are and are confused by what we do.
Can I just say something real quick? This is Rhonda Marks. And when you said nest, this just popped into my head. And I'm sorry if you can hear my road noise because I am driving to an appointment. But maybe something about help us be their nesting place. I don't know, that nest and nesting something. I don't know, but that just popped in my head. I don't know if it'll help, but I'm going to mute now.
Well, thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you.
Good to hear from you.
You too, miss y'all.
I do want to say that, first of all, this is recorded, so you can go back. We're going to post it. You'll be able to go back and review everything. I see this happen, and I'm sure Jill does. I know that anybody in marketing, anybody who deals with the business community on a regular basis, you come across businesses, maybe your business is one that doesn't clearly state what they do, who they are or whatnot. This is the reason that we wanted to do these branding seminars. So if your company isn't telling people what it is you do, you're not getting your message across, you're failing. A perfect example is with Teresa and On Yacht House. Unless you are intimately familiar with that, you're not going to know what you do or who you are. And obviously, are you a 501c3, C4, C6, Teresa?
C3.
Tanya, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Well, trust me, we're a nonprofit 501c3.
Okay, so especially in your case, you don't have a lot of marketing money to get that word out.
No.
So first of all, you have to be really, and especially like in this case, you have to be really super engaged with the people that can help get your message out. And I'm gonna be touting on the Chamber of Commerce right now. I've been in marketing for almost 40 years, and in radio, in print, online, doing digital sales. There are a million different ways that you can get your word out to people. The thing is, most of it costs a heck of a lot of money. And you've got to put aside anywhere between 5 and 10% of your revenue, and you should be doing that. You have to be doing that in order to successfully market your business, get the word out there to the masses. When you don't have that type of budget, you have to rely on your face. You have to rely on your word. You have to rely on other people who know what you do to help spread that message out. Because this is my favorite motto, and I'm going to copyright it. Be known before you're needed. Be known before you're needed. If you're known, when somebody has that need, they'll think of you. So whenever you come to a mix and mingle, or you come to a ribbon cutting, or the Friday morning business connection, you get out in front of the chamber partners who are really involved. Like everybody on this call is very involved, and they know what you do. And then they hear somebody say, hey, you know, I've got this friend, whether it's a busted pipe or air conditioner that's blown up, who's going to be that first person? Who's going to be that top of mind? So get your message straight as far as your organization is concerned. You've got to tell people who you are and what you do, and then you have to spread the word as much as you possibly can. So I would say, if your company is suffering from an identity issue, then you need to sit down with the people who can help you make the call on fixing the problem. If you're not able to fix the problem, you're not going to get anywhere on it.
Well, it's like my problem. We were, Onyot House was flooded by Imelda. So now we're in this current pandemic that we're in. So we haven't been open for almost 8 months. So whenever we do get to the point where we can open safely, it's going to be boots on the ground, and it's going to be like us starting all over 25 years ago. At least is what I feel. You know, because the hospital is not allowing visitors, and so we're working through it. But it just so happened that, you know, parallel to Imelda, now the pandemic, and we're just navigating our way.
Well, Tanya, you definitely have a higher hill to climb, but and in some ways this provides a perfect opportunity possibly for rebranding. I mean, it sounds like with the name and the logo confusion and all that, you guys are in a really good position because you are kind of back at ground zero in some ways. It might be a really good time to sort of think about how, if you can't afford a total brand, but there are lots of inexpensive ways, like, you know, Lamar students might want to help you create a new logo and those sorts of things. I'm going to make an offer at the end of this call for people to do free one-on-one coaching call with me for 30 minutes. And I really hope that you take me up on that offer, because I'd like to talk to you more about this and maybe help you with some recommendations.
Oh yeah, that would be great.
That's awesome. And I would just like to say as well that whenever you rebrand, whenever you relaunch and you're opening back up or whatnot, give the chamber a call. We'll do a ribbon cutting for you. You know,
yes.
We'll do everything that we can to help get that word out too. Because I was even talking to somebody yesterday on the phone. We've got another seminar that's going to come up on change management. And the one thing that we really focused on was how people love to help other people, especially when there's something like this that's going on. We want to be as helpful as possible, because we're all needing something, you know, whether it's just to get out of the house or whatever for our business. We all want to help each other move forward. And Jill, that's like ultimately cool of you to take some time with anybody on this call and give them a little direction. I think that's absolutely awesome.
Joey, can I make a comment?
Dave.
For Onyot House, think about something like, if you have a loved one in Beaumont, Christus, whatever you want to say, and they need accommodations, we can help you out. It defines your market. It tells what you do, and it's in one sentence.
Right. Okay.
Hey, Joey, it's Marcia.
Hey, Marcia.
Hey, I have 100 questions I would love to ask her, so if she would just get with me, you know, and I can certainly make all the questions for her, and then she and Jill can make some really good. I mean, because I've lived in Beaumont all my life, and I've seen the Onion House, but I have no clue what's over there. So I could ask a bunch of questions that would trigger her mind for a lot of stuff.
I think it's like some businesses have an identity crisis. You know, you'll see a logo and it doesn't really tell what they do, or it'll be a sign. Now, I'm going to give McDonald's a skate on this. I'm going to tell you a perfect, and Jill and I were even talking about this the other day. McDonald's is so branded with the golden arches. I don't know if you've ever noticed this, but now you will as you're driving down I-10 or 69 and you see the golden arches sign up in the sky. You will notice that as of about 20 years ago, yes, it's been that long, they have stopped putting the word McDonald's under that golden arch. Every sign they have, they've taken their name off of it. All they use is the golden arches. The restaurants are a different story. They have their names on them most times, but that's how strong that brand is. And everybody's been imprinted with it so long and so much. They know who they are. They know what they do. And it's like Jill was explaining with her husband, and they were in Kentucky, and I bet that chicken tastes the exact same way that it did in Beaumont, Texas. It's the exact same recipe. You know what you're going to get when you go there, and that is getting that word out. And Jill can help you put that together.
Absolutely.
I take her up on that 30 minutes in a heartbeat. Go get it.
Oh, I certainly will. I will indeed.
Awesome.
If it's okay, Joey, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here a little bit, and then we can finish this part of it.
Sure. We've got about, well, you can take as long as you need. If anybody needs to bail at some point, you're more than welcome to do so at 11 o'clock. If you've got something going on, you can stay around or continue. And also, you can check in on Facebook. We've got this as an event. So hopefully other people will be joining us for the second round of this next week. But go ahead, Jill.
So I just, you know, if you guys want to take a screenshot of this, or I'm happy to send it to you, just this is an easy to remember formula. Get people's attention, and get your what you really. That's so the two things that are really important here. I think the main one is the problem that you actually solve, not what you do, but what the result of what you do is, and your surprising way that you're going to get people's attention. Because, you know, rising above the noise is important in branding. The way that this can translate itself over your brand is because you're thinking of the result that you give people, the outcome of what you do for them is really what's informing your thought, and translating that across your website copy, your marketing materials, your social media, your blogs. That's what will really solidify your branding, because you need to, when we taught about your target markets and what language they speak, and if you put that in your elevator pitch, and then you take that same formula of being results oriented and using that language across all of these mediums, then that's will be your consistent branding that you really need to build that bridge between you and potential clients and customers, and really see the success that you want. So I do want to thank you for your kind attention, because I'm really passionate, excuse that overserved words, about making sure that I serve the business community in the best way that I can, because when one of us prospers, we all can prosper more. I love what Helen Keller said, alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. And that's always been meaningful, but I think these days when, you know, the world is just so crazy, that's more true than ever. So my offer for you today is that I'd be happy for you to book before May 15th, book a free 30-minute one-on-one coaching call to ensure that you have effective branding, you're using it to its full advantage, you're positioned for maximum online exposure. And I really can't stress that enough, but because I think a lot of people are perceiving that this is going to be over, but it's not ever going to be over in the way, like life will not be exactly what we thought it was before. We still take our shoes off in airports because of one guy in France 20 years ago, right after 9/11. So there is that potential that things will remain online. And we want to make sure that you're maximized for the new reality of the business world.
Absolutely.
And
Jill,
these are the ways you can reach out to me.
really appreciate it. And if anybody needs anything, we've got a, hold on a second, just got a chat popping up. See if it's something that we need to get to real quick. Hey, Clarence, how are you doing? He says, hey, I want to book my 30 minutes. So put Clarence on number one. I'll put you two together. Clarence, I'll send you and Jill an email and you guys can connect. Okay. Does that sound like a plan?
Sounds like a plan to me.
Very good. It's good to see you here. If anybody needs contact information or whatnot, please feel free to reach out to me. My email address is jarmstrong@bmtcoc.org. You can go back through your email. What I'm going to do at this point is we'll email a link to this meeting out to all of the people who registered, even those that weren't able to attend. So you can go back and you can review this and, you know, really digest it, because Jill gets some great examples, some great thought starters, and we really, I'll tell you what, it's really going to help out big time in developing your brand. So Jill, thank you very much. Thanks everybody for being on the call. Next Thursday, Bonnie with BMAX Inc. is going to be hosting Maximum Exposure. So once you get your brand lined out, once you know what your unique selling proposition is and you're starting to dig down on that, then how do you get it out? What do you do with it at that point? And so Bonnie's going to be helping us with that. We hope that you'll join us for the second part of this, and it's going to be next Thursday, same time, 11 o'clock in the morning. You have to register online for it if you haven't done that yet, and feel free to invite anybody to join in on that. And we're going to be talking a little bit about traditional media, but we're also going to be talking a lot about some of the digital options that you've got as well. So you'll get a link to this. If you need any information from Jill, I know she'll share whatever it is that you need in that 30 minutes. We'll get you up to there. Also, wanted to let you know in about 3 weeks, we're going to have a change management branding or a change management webinar. That's going to be really important because Jill was alluding a little bit to it, you know, as far as the change is concerned and what things are going to look like in 6 months, a year, 2 years. This is also a real opportunity for you to take advantage of a change. Don't be scared of it. Embrace it. Say, how can I think outside the box to be able to capitalize? I know that kind of sounds bad, but you've got to survive in your business. You've got to eat. You've got to continue going on. And if nobody's visiting your shop or visiting your store online, then you have to figure out a way to do that. So don't be scared and don't be afraid to change the way that you need to. And what's really going to be cool about this seminar that we have coming up is we'll give you some really good examples of how to change. And if you can't, then finding somebody who can help you do it. So that'll be a really cool one. We'll send some emails out on that. So with that, Jill, I think we're just about wrapped up here.
Thank you, Jill.
You're welcome. And if anybody wants to work through the formula, we can do it during that 30-minute call since we didn't get to everybody here. I'm happy to do that exercise that I do with Bonnie with anybody during the 30-minute call.
That's fantastic. Everyone, thank you so much for signing on. Thank you for joining, and hopefully you pulled something away from here that you're going to take to market with you. We really appreciate your partnership with the Greater Beaumont Chamber of Commerce. You mean more to us than you'll ever know. We couldn't do what we do if we didn't have each and every one of you. And Jill, thanks for giving of your time. It's wonderful to get the insight. Appreciate it.
Welcome. Thank you. My pleasure.
All right.